Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I am absolutely amazing.
Good.
I got new diamonds. I got
Diamonds.
diamonds. Are a girl's best friend.
Woo.
Yeah, I know. I sounded a bit like Teddy Von Trump there. I was working with her at the weekend at the
Oh,
yesterday
yes.
event in the Kremlin, and yeah, Teddy is the hostess, the door. I don't want to say a bad word, but
The
she's
door
the door.
girl.
That's it. Yeah, she is the iconic door lady of the night, and alongside Trudy Scrumptious, CJ Sims, DJ Kenny K, and what a day!
I've seen some of the
What
photographs online. To be fair, it looked like it was a blast.
it really was. It was so beautifully put together. We rehearsed, we went through everything, and it just all came
Oh,
together.
good, good,
We had the best time ever.
good, good. I'm glad to hear it. I cannot wait for the next one. I'll
Mhm.
maybe just try and not book a weekend away. I sort of felt like I sort of felt like it came from nowhere though. Like I mean, I felt like it was only advertised
Mm.
about between like 4 5 weeks ago. Do you know that way? And we
Yeah.
had already stuff naturally we had stuff booked. But anyway, I'm glad it was wonderful. I'm glad you had a really good time. I've seen a lot of the
Mhm.
the the photos and stuff online. As I said already, it looked really good. So delighted.
Well, I was the only sober one person out of nearly 600 people.
Jeez.
And poor Trudy had to go next door to the shoe factory to do her Sunday night
Uh
show
huh.
at Powerful.
Uh huh.
So no, Trudy was quite complimentous, I have to say. She can hold her liquor. The girl can hold a cup. The girl can hold a cup, you know. So how are you?
I'm really
How
good.
was your
My
weekend?
weekend was wonderful. We obviously had our gig on Saturday. We had G&T karaoke in Union Street, as it is every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And then on
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, my husband and I, we went down to Dublin and we went to Shirley Temple Bar's bingo. And actually, we didn't go
Oh,
down just for it, of course. We did a couple of touristy things. We went to the Jameson factory, or at least it's the Jameson experience. It's kind of like on the old
oh.
site of where Jameson was.
Mm.
And we went to the Epic Museum, which is the Irish Immigrant Museum. Um, but it was good fun. It was good fun. We
Good,
done a touristy thing,
good.
so we did. But listen,
And how was Shirley's bingo?
Shirley's Bingo was really good fun. It was
Hmm.
3 hours of non-stop drag entertainment.
Wow.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Numbers as always. The girls are good. There was a whole plethora of queens. There was Shirley, there was
Hmm.
Veda, Sophia Hart, Victoria, Dizzy. No, not Dizzy. Dolly, sorry.
Dolly Danforth.
Dolly.
Hmm.
And there was a double act on. Unfortunately, I didn't catch their names, but they were very funny as well.
Right.
And they also performed individually. But no, it was a good night.
Oh,
Really enjoyed
good.
ourselves. I do miss Sunday night bingo, I have to say. I do miss a good.
I know, me too, me too. I will say it's been a while, and oh,
Anyway.
you're clutching at my heartstrings.
But listen, we need to get into the episode because this is the final episode in this season. So
Hmm.
let's hit the theme tune. Well, welcome back. So this is, as I said just before the
Hi.
break, this is
Hmm.
our 50th episode of G&T Sips and Giggles. I know we've made 50 episodes, and I mean, and it's 50 main episodes, by the way, because technically we have made a couple of exclusive ones for our Patreons, which we have released four
Hmm.
weeks later.
Hmm.
But 50 episodes, like, it's like when we sat down almost at this time last year, did you imagine that
Hmm.
we would be
No,
having this conversation?
because people were coming to me and saying to me, "Tina, you should do a podcast,"
Hmm.
and I said, "What's a podcast?" At the ripe old age of in my late 30s, I still don't know what a podcast is. So, but then I said to you, "What's a podcast?" And then you showed me what a podcast was, and then I told you, and people kept saying,
Yeah.
"Would you not do a podcast?" And then obviously we got together. We went to your house first of all, took over your entire house. Poor Gary was summoned to the bedroom,
Was expelled.
and
It was expelled to
it
the
was
bedroom. I mean,
yeah.
normally that's a good thing, right? But
Well, not when you're on your own.
well,
Not when your husband is downstairs with one of Northern Ireland's legendary queens. I have a denture in,
all right.
and it's brand new. So the last few weeks, people might have seen my mouth moving a wee bit funny. So I had a dream, and there was something wrong with my mouth, and I contacted my dentist, and then I went to see him, and I ended up having a double fracture in the root, and he pulled it out, and now I have a temporary denture for 3 months before I get my implant.
Right.
And it's sliding. So if you see me, and that's what was happening, because there was a big gaping hole here the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to put my tongue.
You do that though whenever you've got teeth missing. I always sort of like, especially when you're thinking or you're like roll it.
Yeah. But I am getting used to it. It is a bit of hard work. You may hear the odd you know. So
Sure, it adds
but
character. It adds character.
it another level to my character cake.
But listen, back to the
Go.
pod. So we thought we would spend this episode pretty much just recounting the past, I guess, the past year in of our
Yeah.
podcast episodes. I mentioned on last week's episode that I discovered that on Spotify people have been leaving comments, which I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So I want to go through some of those comments, but actually I thought it was worthwhile extending it to all of the platforms and actually having a read through some of the comments. And I'm gonna be honest, we're gonna go through all of them, positive, negative, whatever it may be, including the reviews.
Bring it on.
I think
Bring it on.
I think it would be. I thought it would be interesting, just because we've it's been a journey, Lexi. It has been a journey.
Honey, and this is just the beginning.
I know this is true. This is true. Yeah, I mean,
Because we have something wonderful to reveal.
oh yes, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
So episode 1. Now you were what we started talking about this last week, but episode 1 was. I think we spoke for the guts of 2 hours on episode 1,
Yes.
and that was really my first experience of having to edit an episode. And we spoke a lot, but didn't actually cover anything.
No. Our naivety got in the way, and we were just two best friends having a good old chat. But for us, I found, for me especially, it instantly became therapeutic.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
It instantly, for me, I found it quite soothing, because we were suddenly talking about topics and things of importance and significance and relatability. And when you're with your friends and you don't go that deep and you don't get to understand certain things in certain situations, that was my draw in.
Yeah.
And when you go back to that very first, very long podcast,
Yeah.
I left your house thinking, oh my God, the time.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like it.
I think this is the thing, right? I mean, when we're sitting and we're chatting, the time does seem to fleet. Like, I always sit down and I would say to you, right, we'll just do a quick episode here, 30 minutes tops. And then before we realise it, we've been chatting for an hour. And I've had to edit it down quite significantly, because we end up just going round in circles, or we're off on a tangent that's not actually relevant to what the subject matter was, and so on.
Or we touch on something, we go, oh, put that in the next one, put that in the next one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We spoon feed podcasts. We spoon feed our podcasts.
Yeah.
Our babies.
So, out of all of the episodes that we've done, what would you say would be your favorite? What is your favorite episode that we've done?
I have to be honest and say my recovery almost immediately after my surgery.
Okay.
Because even though it wasn't visual, I really needed it, and I wanted to be able people to hear me and hear me positive and hear me, you know, making plans and talking, you know, like what my next move is, what my thoughts are, my thought process, and that was my favorite because I never in my wildest dreams would I ever have thought that that would have happened to me. And I'm actually really proud of myself the way that I handled it, the run up to it, the actual surgery, and then the recovery. And even though I was completely thinking I could go to work 10 days later, which I couldn't. But you know what? That level of naivety was good for me because then if I had a thought about what I was going to go through, I'm not sure I would have took the surgery.
Yeah.
Because of my passion for work and get up and go and constantly being active, you know. But however, when it happened and when it was done, and then how many episodes we done that day when I was in crutches?
I don't know, but I remember we done, it was like 2 or 3, I think.
I think we done 3, and we giggled and we laughed, and you know, but it was also a message to anybody out there who is going through something.
Yeah.
You know, to be grateful for your recovery because there is light at the end of that tunnel. That was my favourite. What about yours? Which one was your favourite?
Well, just before we move on, that was episode 33, and the title was Hip Hop Hooray. So if anybody hasn't listened to that and wants to go back and listen to that episode, as Tina's just said, that's episode 33. It's available on all of the platforms. Wherever you're listening to this very episode, find episode 33. For me, my most favourite episode out of them all, I think, was the episode with yourself and Trudy. I thoroughly enjoyed walking down memory lane with you and Trudy talking about all things Sunday Bingo Show.
Oh yeah.
Just because it was the nostalgia, it was really warm for me. I don't know, I loved hearing the stories. I loved just walking back down that memory lane.
Yeah, it was really pretty. It was nice to actually sit with Trudy and we connected again instantly.
Yeah.
We went straight back to being on stage, sat beside each other doing the agony act.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. You know? Definitely. That was, again, for our listeners, there's episode 19 and episode 21 because we split that over 2 episodes.
Yeah, we did.
Just one thing I wanted to touch on, not relating to those episodes, but I did get some feedback on Spotify.
Okay.
And it's feedback for me. And this comes from somebody called Johnny Topping. Now, Johnny basically wrote on one of our episodes saying, Glenn, do you have any idea how many times you say, do you know? ? You say it millions. And actually, he's true. It's absolutely true. It's just one of the things that whenever I'm editing our episodes down, we do quite a lot go, you know? Is that just me and you, Lexi, or do you think that's a Northern Irish thing? What do you reckon?
I think it's definitely a you and me thing, and I also think that it's also a very Northern Ireland thing as well, because nearly every person in Northern Ireland finishes off a sentence by saying, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they'll say, do you know?
Yeah.
Or do you know? Or did you know? Do you know that? But yeah, it's definitely a thing up here in the north. It definitely is. So with us, it's like you say it quite a lot.
I do. I think, but I'm always looking for confirmation that you understand where I'm coming from. As you know, I like to give a lot of context when I'm talking to people because sometimes I talk about subject matters that are sometimes a little bit confusing. And I guess that's where I'm always wanting that kind of confirmation that what I've discussed, you've understood. Do you know that way?
And that's also pretty important for listeners and people who are watching as well. That context is also extremely important because when you explain the context to them, then they get it.
Yeah.
So when you say, do you know? Then they do.
Yeah.
And I do as well, because sometimes I'll go to you, yeah, Jen, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So I'm actually admitting that I sometimes tell me white lies too, and I go, yes, and I don't. Because I know you're going to explain it anyway.
Yeah.
The context is there. It's waiting to come out.
Yeah. Some of the other comments we got on the episode, the Tina's Dance School episode, which you'll have to cast your mind right back to, that was one of our really, really early episodes.
Early ones, yeah.
It was episode 3. And you might remember we recorded quite a lot of those episodes up front. Again, not really knowing exactly what we were doing. But somebody called Kelly's wrote, "Oh my God, absolutely brilliant stories with a backdrop of the Troubles. Hilarious and heartwarming at the same time. Magic."
Wow.
So, you know,
I,
I'm at it
yeah.
again, you know. Jeez.
And this time I'm telling the truth. Yeah, I know. But it's nice to have that stroll down memory lane, and it's nice to jog people's memories in a very beautiful, warm, kind, soft way. Because I was born a few years ago, but it's my history and the little dance life that I created for myself in the 1980s and early 90s. Yeah, that's nice, Kelly's. Thank you. I wonder was she a past pupil of my school?
Now, to be fair, these comments were left 8 to 9 months ago. I just didn't know that you could leave comments on Spotify and that we could go on and actually, and we can respond, by the way, which I have done on one or two. The next one, we got a comment from Nuala McAllister.
Okay.
Nuala commented on the special episode that we done called Pride, Pride, Pride. And if you recall, this was the episode we recorded, and it was the very first time we ever recorded in a video. And we recorded that in my living room. And this is where it was the morning after the night before where you'd won your special award.
My Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah. Nuala wrote, "Congrats, gorgeous, on your award. So justly deserved. Bless your wee mummy, and I bet she was so proud of you, as your wee daddy is. XXX."
Oh, that's lovely, Nuala. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was the first time, because we had sat in front and we recorded it visually.
Yeah.
And we had been out the night before in the Clayton Hotel, and I won the Lifetime Achievement Award to the community, and it knocked me off my feet. And then I had to get up the next morning at 7 a.m. and do all of this all over again, then drive over to East Belfast and then sit and record. But I didn't mind because I was so happy. And yes, my mummy was and still is and will always be super, super proud. And I know my father, because I mentioned him in my speech.
You did, yeah.
And it truly was an incredible evening and a wonderful pride.
That was episode 10, called Pride, Pride, Pride.
Yeah. Do you remember sitting at the table because you had an inkling that I was going to win, and you had your phone and then the battery went dead when you were recording everything, and I was fuming?
Yeah. I literally got you on stage and then the battery died.
That's right.
Nuala also left a comment on an episode. It was the episode that we would call One for the Road. And this was our One for the Road, episode 12, called White Bits and Mid-Air Emergencies. And during this, either you or I have said, "I've ordered something with white lemonade." And Nuala wrote saying, "Did they not make a comment on as to why you've said white lemonade? I used to do this in England, and they've always used to say that lemonade is only one colour. And we used to have to explain that in Northern Ireland, we have brown and red lemonade."
Red lemonade, yeah.
So funny.
It is because we have the brown, you can get the brown lemonade, and then there's another one actually called Attaboy.
Right.
A big bottle of Attaboy. Have you ever heard of Attaboy?
I don't think I have.
You get that from a lemonade man.
Okay, right.
You get that from a lemonade man.
So you get it from the main man.
Yeah, that's him. That's him. Honest God, because the lemonade men, they're still actually going round.
Yeah.
And they do the big glass bottles.
Yeah.
And they're all returnable and recyclable and all that kind of stuff. Nuala, yeah. So, no, thanks, Nuala. A little bit of nostalgic history.
Absolutely. On episode 18, which was another one of our One for the Road episodes, this was Luxembourg holiday home and TV appearances. This episode, there was a comment from someone called Keith McCready, and he wrote saying, "Hey Tina, was great for me and my wife to meet you in Gran Canaria. We had a ball at Sparkles and we just loved your shoes and looking forward to going to the local ones." Now, I think they meant to say loved your shows. He wrote, "We loved your shoes and looking forward to going to the local ones in Northern Ireland too. Cheers, Keith and Jenny. Hashtag supporting local talent."
Isn't that lovely?
Absolutely.
Isn't it? Oh, and we're only reading them now. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
it
know.
was like, we're so
I know.
rude.
That was 8 months ago. So
Oh,
sorry, Keith, if you're still with us and you're still listening.
sorry, Jenny. Sorry, Keith. But you know what? We're still up every Saturday. Union Street G&T Karaoke Show, bottomless brunch, £35 per person. Show starts at 4. And then you get wine and you get food and you get champagne between 2 and 4 o'clock. It's all bottomless and the food is from Spaghetti Arms and it is gorgeous. So I'd love to see you again, Jenny and
Keith.
Keith. Yeah.
Another episode we done was called Dating the Stars. Now this was one of our video episodes, and this was
Oh.
episode 42. Now the person obviously was listening and weren't watching, but it was Dating the Stars, Gemini Glenn and Scorpio Tina. And Johnny
Mm.
Topping, who I mentioned earlier, wrote, Glenn, great show, but you gave out your full date of birth. People now know your name and now your date of birth. I'm worried about scams. Maybe bleep it out. Keep up the good work.
I
Johnny,
didn't even notice you done
I
that.
think it's because I had said my date of birth is 14th of the 6th, 85, making me a Gemini.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
of
yeah,
course,
yeah. I
I've just
remember
give out my
now.
date of birth again. But to
So
be
yeah,
honest, oh,
anybody who tries to get past you using your credentials in a scam, well, it will never work because you're just too quick, too smart, too wise.
and I check
Yeah.
my credit file regularly as well for new accounts and stuff
Hmm.
being open. So I'm always on the ball.
You're always on the ball,
The
girl.
next
Always on the
the
ball.
next comment was on our One for the Road episode. This was
Hmm.
the episode we called One for the Road, Kardashians, Jade and Superstitions.
Okay.
This was episode 43. And Nuala
Hmm.
left a comment again saying,
Right.
so pleased to hear that you're back in Union Street on a regular basis. Looking forward to seeing you there very soon.
Yeah.
Well, Nuala, you've heard Tina mention it already. We're there every Saturday, so look forward to
Every
seeing you.
time. Hmm.
On another episode that we done, which was the One for the Road, this was Narco Submarine, Teresa Judas
Hmm.
and Coin Trouble. This is where I went to the Coin Star, you might remember, or I went
Oh,
to try
yeah.
and
Oh,
do you
yeah, yeah,
remember?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I would try to go to
Hmm.
the bank, and the bank wouldn't take the coins. Anyway,
Wouldn't take them.
somebody with the username CHWaters22 wrote, "Oh my god, I am so delighted that Smoggy Queens is coming back. I absolutely loved it." CH Waters, yes, we too love Smoggy Queens as well.
Oh, oh, wow. I cannot wait. I really am so looking forward. I'm not very much a big TV person as such, and Smoggy Queens just blew my mind. That everything about it, everyone who was in it, the stories, it was just perfect.
Absolutely.
More, 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 more.
So this one's probably out. This comment's a little bit spicy.
Okay.
So I did say that we would go for warts and all. This one was left by the user Phil-O, Philo. And this was on our episode that we put out on Friday called The Lock-In, The Shrinkflation Struggle. And Philo says, the awkward scripted nature of this podcast makes it hilarious. Tina is so confused and sometimes she doesn't know what side of the argument she is on. I'm strangely addicted. Is it written on AI or something? The topics are completely random too. Now, I did mention that we had the opportunity to respond, and I did leave a comment back to say, howdy, Phil. Now, people, I mean, full disclosure, we do use scripted parts for the podcast. Typically, we script only the intro, and we do have our show notes, which are, as you know, Tina, they're bullet points. We don't use an AI script for our show. And of course,
No.
the topics are meant to be random. Otherwise, we'll be listening to the exact same conversation week in and week out.
Okay.
I did write essentially that back to Phil, and I've just said, glad we gave you a laugh, though, and thanks for listening to us.
Yeah.
What do you say? What say you, Legacy? What say you?
Well, it's a bit of tongue in cheek when obviously if I see mine getting a bit flustered, I don't know where I am, but then obviously it's not that scripted and it definitely isn't AI. So maybe what he's looking at is someone who's just completely overwhelmed with charisma, charm, uniqueness, and talent and has so much stuff inside her that she's just busting to move on to the next topic.
And typically that is typically it's like because we've got so much to get through, and I'm forever the
Yeah.
harbinger of terrible news because
Yeah.
I'm like, right, that's all we've got
Hmm.
time for. Sorry.
Yeah. Next.
But anyway, Philo, thank you for your comment and thank you
Thank
for
you,
listening.
honey.
The next comment is on YouTube, and this was on episode 38, and this was from somebody called Philip Beatty. And Phil wrote, I am definitely here for much more of the visual pods. And this was the first episode where we actually filmed it from start to finish.
Oh,
And Philip Beatty was loving the fact that they could now watch us.
see us.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you, Philip Beatty. Thank you so much indeed. And I'm so glad that you've become a follower. And we have some exceptional news at the end of this. So, as the song says, things can only get better,
Yeah. Yeah.
can't they?
Absolutely.
But thank you, Philip, so much for your support. It truly means a lot to us, you know.
Um, Another one is a little bit spicy.
Oh, I like.
This one.
I like a spicy bag. I like a spicy bag.
So you might remember we done an episode on toxic masculinity.
Masculinity, yes.
And we spoke about on there about this idea of what a man is. And somebody left us a comment on YouTube
Okay.
saying, I'd love to see how you would feel if you were conscripted and have to go to the army. And then we'll see who's a man's man. I didn't respond to that one. I just thought somebody was out looking a bit of a rise from us. But I think this comment really serves our point, right? Which is to be brave, you need to be this manly man. You can't be brave in other ways. You know, I'd like to think that I'm well educated and I could be useful in certain circumstances beyond having a punch up with somebody, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You see, that was the whole topic of our conversation, and there you have it.
Yeah.
You know, why would you want to sign up to the army to prove your masculinity?
Yeah.
You know, why do you want to sign up to anything? If you want to be a man, be a man. If you want to be a woman, be a woman. If you want to be a happy person, be a happy person. If you want to be a sad person, be a sad person. You don't need to sign up, and you certainly don't need to document that's how you feel. You're perfectly entitled to it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you for your comment. Now,
Absolutely. Like, I did live through a war for 30 odd years, born and raised on the Falls Road, right smack bang wallop in the middle of it all, and I came out the other end a damn good person.
yeah.
So I may not have signed up, but I did survive.
Amen. Amen. On to more lighter stuff. We put a video out last week. You had mentioned about your superstition and about wearing your dress inside out.
Yes. Yes.
Tina, we have been inundated. We've been inundated on TikTok about this.
Yes.
So-
TikTok.
Joanna Walls wrote, is she relation? Joanna Walls?
Or Joanna.
Yes. So you basically said that if you realise that you've put something on inside out, if you leave it on for too long, you effectively cannot take it off. Otherwise, it's considered bad luck. Now, first of all, someone with the username RealCatBlack99 said, I am laughing so much. Somehow I don't think Glenn believes this one.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, if you watch the video back, I am kind of just like staring going, and then you go to me, have you heard of this before? And I'm like, yes.
But you didn't.
I think that I had, but I couldn't just be so certain. But anyway, Kat wrote that somehow I don't think Glenn believes this one. And of course I wrote back on, yes, my darn face gives me away every time. And she says Glenn's face was betraying his words. And I did write back though, sort of saying, you know, I'm not an old wife, and nor have I heard this tale. And she was like, I might be an old wife, but I'm worse than Glenn as I've ever heard of this. Another user called Pollyanna said, I changed my hockey socks and got beat in a big final. I have never changed them again.
There you go.
Somebody.
So she put them on inside out and realised they were inside out. Then she put them on the right way round and she lost.
Yes. So she believed in that superstition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody else by the user Annie17 said, I've done it, went to work with it inside out and back to front. No way was I changing that. True story.
Good. Good. Because do you know what it's sort of really empowers you, because what you're basically doing there is, I don't care whether I'm on screen or whatever. Even if I walked on stage and my dress was inside out and people were going, your dress is inside out, I would be like, well, yeah, that's okay.
Another user called Anna Barty simply wrote, this is brilliant and refreshing.
Thank you, darling.
But I mean, it's great to hear from it's great to get this feedback, right? It's nice to hear what people are saying.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the reviews. So over on Apple reviews, we've had 18 reviews. Of the 18 reviews, we've had 17 of them are 5-star and 1 was 4-star. Still willing to find out who done this. But we've had comments basically saying, really enjoyed the first episode of the podcast. Looking forward to seeing what's next. It was an absolute gag. This is around this time last year. Somebody wrote, great show. Love every minute of it. Can't wait to hear the next one. Somebody really enjoy catching up on these podcasts, which I've only just discovered. Some laugh out loud moments throughout each episode so far, and very engaging content. Well done, Tina and Glenn. I'm looking forward to listening along to future episodes. Someone wrote, love catching up with Tina and Glenn. So many stories and laughable moments. Thank you for putting this podcast out love catching up with Tina and Glenn. So many stories and laughable moments. Thank you for putting this podcast out there for us to enjoy. I don't know how I'm going to edit that, by the way, because you laughed the whole way through that.
And I purposely guldered so you couldn't edit it.
You know the thing about it, because I can't see your response because I'm reading off the app. So camp, funny and nuts. Trip down memory lane in the Belfast gay scene. Brilliant hosts and chat is so entertaining. Definitely one to subscribe to. Keep them coming. Nice to hear some depth, warmth and breadth of experience in an LGBTQIA podcast. So human. And someone wrote, if you're looking for a podcast that will make you laugh, lets you feel the realness of the host, but leaves you feeling lighter, then look no further. Each episode has a balance of humour and emotion. Glenn and Tina have a natural chemistry, and that is very clear. When sharing stories, you're taken alongside their life experiences, giving the show its emotional depth, but also hitting a witty balance. They don't shy away from the tough topics, but manage to keep it uplifting and relatable.
Yeah.
Whether you need to unwind with a G&T or you just want to hear something that feels genuine and real, this podcast will give you everything. Fun, feels, and lots of laughter. Highly recommended. Well, thank you so much for whoever it was that left that. And Philo, take note. But what a journey it's been, like. I think all of those, warts and all, not everybody, we can't appeal to everybody, and every episode
but you know what?
hasn't been 5-star because we're learning. It's self-produced. We've not got a big budget or employing somebody to produce our episodes.
No.
We're doing it ourselves.
We're doing it ourselves, and we're in our bedrooms, studio, and we started in your living room, and now we've got this far, and I'd rather we did it this way than walk into somewhere that's gorgeous and polished and beautiful. And I love things that happen organically.
Yeah.
I love to go on a journey about something I didn't have a clue about, and I still pretty much don't. But when I'm interested in something and I start to feel for it, then it means I am going to become definitely invested in it. Because even before when we started doing this, what was I like trying to switch the laptop on?
I mean, this is interesting. People don't see the behind the scenes part where we had to spend 20 minutes on every episode setting up your configuration and
press this and drag that over and okay, click on that, and then I'm going, I can't read it, it's too small.
Yes, that's true.
You're going over it again. Okay, I make the text big, and then what I did was it just disappeared off the screen altogether, and you were like, just don't touch anything.
It's true. But like I say, we are running out of time, but there is an announcement that we need to make. So we did mention that at the top of the episode that this is the last episode in this series of G&T Sips and Giggles. But Legsy, but what?
we are moving home.
Oh, no, what do you mean?
What I mean is, the next time when you switch it on and tune into Sips and Giggles, we will be in our brand new custom-made gorgeous studio.
Yes, and we will have more details on where exactly
Yeah.
that is whenever we are about to launch. But we are...
And we're going to do a big relaunch, and we're going to make it gorgeous, and we want you to please continue to support us. Keep downloading the podcast. Please keep listening and watching Sips and Giggles, you know, because it has become it's our wee baby.
It is indeed. It is indeed.
It's our wee baby. And I think it's actually really lovely in the sense that I have taught myself so much about this part of technology.
Yeah.
And I needed to learn. I had to learn, even though you've taught me most of it, all of it actually. You know, but it's not like I give up and I go, I don't want to do it. I can't, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know, I take it on the chin. I learn.
Yeah.
And when it comes to it the next wee bit, then I go, no, let me try it. Oh, I've got it. Now I've got it. Once I get it, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the way I am with the podcast because, as I said before, if it's therapeutic for me and it's therapeutic for you, and we feel that,
Yeah.
you know, we don't do vulgarities, we don't do swear language, we don't do politics, we don't like to we don't care, you know, what we do care about is the important stuff, which is kindness.
Amen.
I think if you can have a kind podcast, then you're going to be okay.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
And can I just point out, by the way, we really do need to give a shout out to our Patreons, those people that have supported us as paid members. So I'm going to give a very quick rundown of the people that have supported our podcast, certainly within this season. The first one is Jim Walker.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Dean McKenzie. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
Dominic Lynch. Thanks,
Thank you,
Dominic. We've got Jude Copeland. Thank you very much, Jude. Angela Reid.
Miss Reid, thank you.
We've got Barry.
Baza.
And Squeezy.
We squeeze.
Who have been supporting our wee podcast over this past year, and without you guys, we wouldn't be able to keep our conversation going the way that we wanted to. So thank you so much for that and for your continued support.
Thank you.
We do intend to be back sometime around September. As Tina has already mentioned, we are going to relaunch. Brand new season, brand new episodes, brand new home, and I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be good. I do have
some new technology.
Yes, and if you're listening to this and you're thinking you're perhaps maybe a budding producer and you think that you could help Tina and I produce this podcast, then reach out to us. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to know what are your ideas, what could we do differently. I'm open.
Yeah.
I think it would be great. And I think as the podcast has expanded, I think it's about time that we start to look to see whether we can bring other people into the fold.
Yeah.
So
where can we take it? How can we build her? How can we make her stronger? How can we, open her up to, maybe one more body, two more bodies who can come in and say, listen, try this.
Yeah.
Let me do that.
Yeah.
And I want to see you go, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, because you to me are the wizard, and I would love to maybe have a second wizard.
Ooh. But
not as good as you though. No.
Of course. But like I say, we are out of time.
Boo-hoo!
I know. But as always, darling, here has been to 50 episodes.
50 episodes.
It has been a year. It's been eye-opening. I am eternally grateful for you giving up your time and for allowing us to do this and for inviting me along as well and for allowing me to produce our podcasts and come up with ideas and talk about things that I want to talk about as well. But you are a gem.
You're a diamond.
Until next time.
Love you.
Love you too. Mwah.
Bye, everybody.
Chin
Bye.
chin.
I was just about to say, my denture slipped. I was about to go chin, and it dropped down. Hold up. Right, can we do that again? Ready?
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Chin
Chin.
chin. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of G&T Sips and Giggles. If you've enjoyed our conversation, then don't forget to share it with your friends, and why not subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Your reviews mean the world to us and really help others find the show, so please take a moment to leave one. But be kind. If you'd like to support the podcast, why not consider joining us on Patreon? For the cost of a drink a month, you can listen to episodes early, access exclusive digital content, and get discounts to upcoming G&T shows. Your support helps us keep the conversation flowing. Cheers, we'll see you next time. Chin chin.